Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The date is 13th Jamad al-Thani 1447 on the Islamic calendar, corresponding to 4th December 2025 on the Gregorian calendar. And you are watching Muslim World News with me, your host, Abdul Rahman Muhammad. Let's dive in headfirst and take a look at today's headlines. Marsabit parents trained on child protection. On our second story, Senator's burqa stunt divides Australia. For business, housing boom draws small traders into tax compliance. And on sports, three-way F1 title fight heads to Abu Dhabi. Now let's take a look at our first story right here at home. Around 100 parents in Marsabit County recently took part in a comprehensive child protection volunteer training led by Compassion International Kenya, aiming to address harmful practices that put children at risk. The initiative equips communities to better protect children, enhances reporting of abuse cases, and promotes understanding of the legal responsibilities and consequences associated with neglect or harm. Participants studied key frameworks including the UN Convention of the Rights of Children, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Children, Kenya's Children Act 2022, and global obligations under Sustainable Development Goal 16. During the event, graduate Josephine Kulate admitted that cultural norms had long shaped harmful parenting practices she had never questioned. She said, "We violated rights thinking we were protecting our traditions. Now I know culture cannot be used to harm a child." Officials emphasized that protecting children requires cooperation between parents, community leaders, and state institutions. Compassion International's Marsabit program manager, Joseph Diba, noted that children in the county face serious risks, including early marriage, female genitalia mutilation, twin infanticide in remote areas, trafficking, child labor, and recruitment into livestock theft. Child protection specialist Jael Kamaki echoed the same concern, highlighting that children from pastoralist communities face multiple vulnerabilities. She stressed that parents, community leaders, and government institutions play a key role in keeping minors safe, and that every child deserves equal protection no matter where they are born or how often they move. The training serves as a critical step towards creating safer environments for children in Marsabit, encouraging communities to actively uphold children's rights and challenge harmful practices. Our next story, still here in Kenya. New data released by the National Syndemic Disease Control Council (NSDCC) indicates that there have been a 19% rise in HIV infections in the last 1 year. The report further shows that the highest number of new infections is among the youth aged 15 to 34 years across the country. In 2024, the national HIV prevalence stood at 3.0%, with higher rates among females at 4.0% compared to males at 2.0%, details the Kenya HIV Estimates report released by NSDCC. NSDCC shows that in the last year, new infections have risen by 19%, up from 16,752 to 19,991. 10 counties, Nairobi, Migori, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Busia, Siaya, Kakamega, Nakuru, Mombasa, and Bungoma accounted for 60% of all new HIV infections in 2024. Nairobi County led with 3,045 new infections, followed by Migori at 1,572 and Kisumu at 1,341. The NSDCC noted that the concentration of new infections in the 10 counties shows persistent regional disparities, calling for differentiated county-led interventions to achieve equitable epidemic control. Further, the survey shows that HIV-related deaths increased by 0.05 in 2024, as 21,007 deaths were recorded. This was a rise from 18,473 in 2023. AIDS-related deaths recorded at 21,007 in 2024 reminds us of the need for renewed focus on early diagnosis, treatment, adherence and retention in care, says Health PS Ouma Oluga. NSDCC data also shows that in 2025, Kenya recorded a 52% decrease in new HIV infections. As of 2024, 1,326,336 Kenyans were living with HIV, among them 62,798 children. Elgeyo, Marakwet, Wajir, Mandera, Kisii, Machakos, Kericho, Uasin Gishu, Nakuru, Bomet, Baringo, Trans Nzoia, and Laikipia recorded a 75% drop in new infections. On our next story, President William Ruto on Friday inaugurated the construction of the 175 kilometers Nairobi-Nakuru-Mau Summit dual carriageway under a 170 billion shillings public-private partnership. The project expands the current 2-lane road into a 4-lane corridor from Rironi to Naivasha and 6 lanes from Naivasha to Nakuru, including the Nairobi-Mai Mahiu-Naivasha link. The highway upgrade is expected to generate 15,000 jobs during construction and introduce modern features like intelligent transport systems, truck laybys, and safety interchanges. President William Ruto called the project a gateway to prosperity, unity, and transformation, promising it will unlock trade and mobility across Kenya and East Africa. As construction begins, Kenyans will be watching closely, hoping the new highway delivers faster travel, safer journeys, and long overdue infrastructure for the nation's westward corridor. Our next story takes us to Guinea-Bissau, where the military in Guinea-Bissau has appointed General Hota Inta as transitional president following a coup that ousted President Umaro Sissoco after a disputed election. General Hota Inta was sworn in as provisional president after the military coup took over. He stated that there is sufficient evidence to justify the operation and that necessary measures are urgent and important and requires everyone's participation. The military indicated that the transitional administration will be in place for a year. This move raises concerns about political instability in the country as citizens and regional leaders monitor the military's control and future governance. Guinea-Bissau has a long history of coups and political unrest, and tension over election results continue to challenge democratic processes and regional stability. On November 26th, army soldiers stated that they had taken total control, citing an alleged plan to alter election results. They promptly detained incumbent President Umaro Sissoco, halted all national institutions, shut the borders, and instituted a curfew. Our next story takes us to Australia, where far-right Senator Pauline Hanson set off a political firestorm by wearing a burqa in Parliament, part of her push to ban full-face Muslim attire nationwide. Hanson re-entered the Senate after a failed attempt to table a ban, refusing to remove the burqa even after being asked. The chamber was suspended and later censored her. The Senate voted 55-5 to suspend Hanson for 7 sitting days, citing mocking and vilifying an entire faith. Muslim Senator Mahreen Faruqi called Hanson's display blatant racism, while government leaders Penny Wong said the act was disrespectful and harmful to social cohesion. What began as parliamentary protest has morphed into one of Australia's most divisive debates in recent memory over faith, identity, and where tolerance ends. Our next story is one of final relief. A 16-year-old Palestinian American was released from Israeli military detention last week after 9 months behind bars, his family says. The boy, arrested at 15 during a West Bank raid on accusations of stone throwing, was released after entering a guilty plea and receiving a suspended sentence in military court. He was taken to hospital immediately after release, appearing underweight and suffering from a skin infection, conditions his family blames on prolonged poor treatment in detention. His uncle, Zayad Kadur, described the moment of reunion. Words can't describe the immense relief to have Muhammad in his parents' arms. The case has renewed calls for scrutiny of how minors, even US citizens, are treated under Israel's military prison system. From stories of real human faces and lives, now let's take a look at numbers and statistics on business news. Our first story, the Kenyan government has outlined a plan to overhaul the insurance sector, announcing reforms to strengthen regulation, expand access, and improve service delivery nationwide. This announcement came at Sanlam Kenya, officially rebranded to Sanlam Alliance Holdings Kenya. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi said the transition represents a major step towards modernizing the industry and enhancing public confidence. Furthermore, he highlights the importance of this sector to families since it protects them, helps businesses, and encourages investments in industries that create national prosperity. The insurance sector is the quiet engine of every modern economy. It protects families, cushions businesses, and enables investments in the sectors that propel national progress, said National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi. He said the reforms agenda seeks to rebuild public confidence by ensuring insurers are financially sound and transparent in how they operate. Through the Insurance Regulatory Authority (IRA), we are rolling out reforms that sharpen oversight, protect consumers, and unlock innovation from digital assets insurance frameworks to standardize claims processes and strengthen risk-based capital regime, Mbadi said. Kenya's insurance penetration has remained low for years, with many citizens citing slow claims processes, limited coverage options, and weak trust in providers. The government's new reform package seeks to address these gaps by empowering the Insurance Regulatory Authority to tighten oversight, standardize claims handling, and encourage digital innovation. On our next business story, Kenyan importers are facing higher shipping costs after Maersk began applying additional charges on cargo destined for Mombasa port. The new surcharges, called the Operational Cost Imports or OCI fee, came into effect on December 1, 2025 and will remain until advised otherwise. The move follows a series of inspection fees and other levies imposed by government agencies at the port. Under the new structure, a 20-foot dry container will cost an extra 2,332. A 40-foot container will cost 4,276, while refrigerated containers for fresh produce attract 4,276 for a 20-foot unit and 5,572 for a 40-foot unit. Speaking to a reporter, Shippers Council of East Africa Chief Executive Agayo Ogambi expressed concerns, saying these costs could affect the competitiveness of imports, supply chains, and the overall cost of doing business. We urge stakeholders' consultations before rolling out such fees. Importers also face charges from government agencies, including Kentrade, Kenya Maritime Authority, KEBS, and Kenya Port Authority. The Shippers Council of Eastern Africa warns that these costs could affect supply chains, competitiveness, and overall business operations. Stakeholders are calling for structured consultation and transparency before any new fees are introduced. Experts warn that without oversight, additional charges are often passed to consumers, risking commodity prices and that cost of living. And on our next story, Kenya's expanding affordable housing program is putting pressure on the tax office as up to 2 million small and micro businesses find themselves newly obligated to register with the KRA if they hope to supply materials or services to housing project contracts. Under the current wave of construction, many modest enterprises ranging from hardware suppliers and small contractors to informal suppliers of building materials are being drawn into formal compliance requirements. The KRA says that firms must be tax compliant before they can engage in housing-related contracts. Tax experts see this as a part of a broader push to expand the tax base and bring informal businesses into formal economic activity, especially as state-led housing drives create new demand for building materials and services. But many small operators are uneasy. For informal firms accustomed to cash transactions and minimal paperwork, the requirement to register, file returns, and remit taxes represent a major shift, one that may prove costly and administratively heavy. At stake is both opportunity access to lucrative government housing contracts and risk farms that remain outside the tax net may be excluded from future tenders. If mismanaged, it may push small players out of supply chains altogether, undermining jobs and livelihoods. And on our final business story, East Africa is positioning itself to become a major steel supplier, driven by fresh multi-billion shillings investments and a push to cut the region's heavy reliance on imports. A new mega plant under construction in Tororo, Uganda, is at the center of this shift. The facility developed by the Devki Group is expected to produce up to 1 million tons of steel every year once completed. This would make it the largest steel manufacturing plant in East and Central Africa. The project is powered by Uganda's vast iron ore reserves and new blast furnace technology, allowing the region to process raw materials locally instead of shipping them abroad for refinement. Rising demand has fueled the urgency. Governments across East Africa continue to pump resources into infrastructure, housing, transport, and manufacturing, all sectors that depend heavily on steel. Right now, most of this steel is imported, costing countries billions and making local projects more expensive. By producing steel domestically and at high capacity, the region aims to stabilize supply, lower construction costs, and finally start exporting steel to neighboring markets. The economic impact is expected to be significant, with thousands of direct and indirect job projects across mining, transportation, construction, and manufacturing. If production targets are achieved, East Africa could transform from a long-time steel importer into a competitive global supplier, marking a new era for regional industrial growth. From numbers and statistics of business news, let's take a look at sports news, where the Palestine national team clinched a spot in the 2025 FIFA Arab Cup last week Tuesday after beating Libya 4-3 on penalties in Doha. The decisive playoff ended 0-0 after regulations and extra time before Palestine held their nerve in a dramatic penalty shootout. With the win, Palestine joins Qatar, Tunisia, and Syria in Group A when the tournament begins in December. Coach Ihab Abu Jazar said, "This was the toughest playoff match. Football is one of the few things that can bring happiness to Palestinians. For Palestinians across the globe, the victory is more than sports. It is a symbol of hope and solidarity during trying times." Now on exciting F1 news, Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, and Oscar Piastri head into the season finale as all remain in contention for the 2025 Formula One World Crown after Verstappen's win in Qatar. Norris leads with 408 Before we close today, here is something wild to think about. Did you know? On December 4th, the world marks International Cheetah's Day, a day dedicated to raising awareness about the fastest land mammal and highlighting efforts to protect cheetahs and their natural habitat. This should be a reminder that among the fastest creatures on Earth, some still desperately need our help to outrun extinction. If you didn't know, dear viewers, now you know. That brings us to the end of today's program of Muslim World News. I've been your host, Abdurrahman Muhammad, and it's been a pleasure having you with us. But as we've come to the end of our news bulletin, we turn to this week's feature story. Gulf Bank representatives, licensed Hajj travel agencies, and doctors medically administering vaccines came together at the GAB Hajj Expo to guide Kenyan Muslims preparing for the sacred pilgrimage. The event helped prospective pilgrims get answers to their questions, making the plan process clearer and more organized, while bringing trusted information closer to the community. Our reporter Fatma Hussein has more on this story. Stay informed, stay inspired, and may peace be upon you.
As more Kenyan Muslims prepare for Hajj each year, access to clear and reliable information has become a growing need. Gulf African Bank has introduced a new way to support pilgrims through the GAB Hajj Expo, a gathering that brings together certified travel agency scholars and financial experts under one roof. At the GAB Hajj Expo, the inspiration behind organizing a large-scale pilgrimage event for Kenyan Muslims was explained by Muhammad Abdurrahman Sheikh, the head of distribution at Gulf African Bank, who emphasized the need to bring trusted service providers together for the community.
As a bank, we've been concerned, and we are concerned with the community and the customer base at large. So what we have seen challenges where the Saudi government and the Kenya Hajj mission has come with strict timelines within which some payments are supposed to be made. As Kenyans and as Muslims, people take time to accumulate these funds so that they are able to go out for Hajj. Now, we've seen that need. And what we've said is there should be no person who will not be able to fulfill his Hajj responsibilities because of delayed payment. We come in as a bank and we finance our agents so that they're able to pay SUPKEM and the Hajj mission in good time, and as they wait for the collections to come from their customers.
He also added the features of the product.
The Hajj agent financing product that we've just come up with is a product, first of all, designed to be given to the Hajj agents. What we are doing is we are giving them a facility that they will be able to pay within a maximum of 10 months. And they will not be paying this on monthly basis as is happening with other financing. This will be paid a bullet payment, where on the 10th month, you will be able to pay the total amount that you are advanced. Our administration fee or the collection fee is also less than what we charge other products. We will only charge them 1% administration fee for this product. The money that they are given is paid to Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims or other suppliers that they would want us to pay. And once they get their collections from the Hujjaj, they will be able to pay the product. So it is a product that is well designed that will cater for their actual needs.
Key guidance on what first-time pilgrims should consider when choosing a reliable Hajj or Umrah package came from Athman Abdullah Muhammad, director at Al Ajun Hajj and Umrah Agency, who stressed transparency, accreditation, and strong support systems.
When one wishes to go for Hajj or Umrah and has several options to choose from, you should determine the credibility of that particular agent. You should know where they exist. They should have some offices at least. And then also, you should find out when we travel, when we go to Makkah, which hotel are we going to stay? When we go to Medina, which hotel are we going to stay? Is this package, which airline are we going to use? Is there like a breakfast involved, or there's no food involved? Is there transportation? What does the package include? Those are the kinds of things when you want or you wish to go for Umrah or Hajj, you need to find out from your agent before you make decisions. Some of the agents, they give breakfast. Some of them, they don't give breakfast. Some of the agents, they use this airline. Some of the agents, they use that airline. So those are the kinds of the things they should do.
Clarity on how travelers can verify a certified and trustworthy travel agency was provided by Ali Noor Siad, manager at Firdaus Travel and Tour, highlighting the importance of licensing and a proven track record.
Travelers can get to know that the agency is certified through the medias. You can look for the agency you are planning to go to Hajj through. For our case, if you want to go with us to Umrah or Hajj, you can go to our website. You can go to our Facebook or any social media pages and search our names, and we will get to see that we are registered, satisfied, and we are ready to take you to Umrah and Hajj.
Insights into the most challenging part of the preparation process was shared by first-time pilgrim Abdullah Bahfain, who spoke about the stress of documentation and understanding the rituals.
Kama huna pesa ndio inakuwa ngumu mtu kwenda Umrah na Hajj, shida mambo ya pesa hii. Maana ni vile ghali, mtu hana uwezo, anayekania lakini hana uwezo. Sasa hapo ingekuwa Haji ni rahisi, watu wengi watakwenda Haji. Lakini sasa shida ni nini? Ni pande ya financial peke yake.
Health requirements, including the essential vaccines needed before traveling for Hajj or Umrah, were outlined by Hamdi Hamoud, a medical officer at Healthgate Hospital.
Some of them are meningococcal vaccine, helps against meningitis. There is also influenza vaccine against flu, hepatitis, against hepatitis disease. And why we need these vaccines, why they are required, is because it prevents pilgrims against these infectious diseases. And also it reduces the outbreak of these diseases during mass gathering. And it also reduces the risk of this population, especially the vulnerable people, the old people, from getting such diseases.
As demand for Hajj and Umrah continues to rise, events like GAB Hajj Expo are reshaping how Kenyans prepare for their sacred journey, offering clarity, confidence and safe choices for aspiring pilgrims. Reporting from BBS Mall, I'm yours Fatma Hussein, Al Huda TV, Nairobi.